Your main mistake: you are sure that you can recognize an abnormal person. You miss the obvious facts that scream that your interlocutor is a psychopath. Because of this, he manages to manipulate your emotions, play on your weaknesses, and get what he wants. But why can't we detect such people right away? What exactly is hidden behind this attractive mask? The danger is not in falling into the trap of the manipulator, but in not noticing when you're already in it. John C. Maxwell. Perhaps you've ever asked yourself, am I the one using others? Do I always act with good intentions? Or sometimes does my behavior include subtle manipulations? We all, at times, fall for promises or words that seem sincere. But do we really know who is standing in front of us? The idea that psychopaths are people we can easily recognize by their cruelty or lack of emotions is outdated. They can be extremely charismatic, manipulate our feelings, and deceive us with their actions. What might seem innocent at first glance can turn out to be dangerous. Falling under their influence is not just emotional manipulation. It could lead to significant life losses, from broken trust to serious personal or financial losses. If you don't recognize it in time, you might find yourself in a trap that's hard to escape from. Psychopaths often use our compassion and kindness against us, creating the illusion of closeness and then betraying us. You could be on the path to becoming a victim of manipulation and not even notice it until it's too late. That's why it's important to recognize these subtle signals. Perhaps you've already been close to such a person. Maybe you didn't even realize how you ended up under their influence. Knowing how to recognize a psychopath is not just a tool for your safety. It's a guarantee that you will retain control over your own life and not become part of someone else's game. Be vigilant. Here are 5 signs that will help you recognize a psychopath. Sign 1. Lack of remorse. This is one of the most dangerous signs of a psychopath. A person who does not feel guilty for their actions, is incapable of self-criticism, and refuses to admit their mistakes, is the first indication that something is wrong. For a psychopath, their actions don't cause any internal conflict. They may cause pain to others, deceive, or manipulate, but afterward, they don't feel any need to correct their behavior. They simply don't see anything wrong in what they do, so they don't feel the need to change. Psychopaths often have a distorted view of the world, where they are at the top of the hierarchy and others are just tools for achieving their goals. For them, there are no moral boundaries, and all their actions are justified by their own desires. They don't feel the weight of their actions because they don't see it as wrong. Their life is a constant race for their own interests, without regard for the consequences for others. Remorse is what keeps us from repeating mistakes. Psychopaths lack this ability, which makes their actions more and more harmful. Plato. This quote beautifully highlights the essence of it. Psychopaths lack an internal self-correction mechanism. Without remorse, they continue causing harm without even realizing it. They might go to sleep knowing they've deceived someone or used a person for their own goals without feeling any guilt. But the problem isn't just that they don't regret. It's that their lack of remorse leads them to never change. They don't learn from their mistakes because they think they've done nothing wrong. As a result, their next action will be even more ruthless or manipulative than the last. There is nothing more dangerous than a person who cannot admit their mistakes. They lose the ability to self-correct and become a constant threat. George Orwell. When psychopaths can't admit their mistakes, they become a danger to everyone around them. They don't seek ways to change themselves or reflect on how to fix a situation. For them, there is no concept of moral standards or personal responsibility. They simply continue manipulating without stopping, regardless of the path they are on. Sign 2. Irresponsibility and inconsistency. These two traits perfectly characterize a psychopath. They are unable to take responsibility for their actions and often act impulsively without any consistency or reflection. This shows up in the fact that they often promise one thing but do something completely different and don't even consider it a problem. Never finishing what they started, they leave chaos around them. Psychopaths can easily manipulate your emotions and promises without intending to keep them. They constantly delay fulfilling promises, ignoring the consequences of their actions for others. This irresponsibility is neither a problem nor a challenge for them. They don't understand how their inconsistency can hurt those who trust them. A person who cannot take responsibility for their actions is incapable of building a solid foundation for their life or for the lives of others. Friedrich Nietzsche. This quote reflects the essence of a psychopath's irresponsibility. Their actions lack a stable foundation, which makes it impossible to build healthy relationships or cooperate. They may seem attractive, promise a lot, and be full of confidence, but their lack of responsibility prevents them from creating lasting, healthy connections. They ignore any consequences for others, so you can't rely on them for constant support or mutual understanding. Psychopaths' irresponsibility is also shown in the fact that they often leave important tasks unfinished. They may start new projects or set big goals, but their inconsistency prevents them from finishing those tasks. Throughout all this time, they don't stop to think that it might lead to serious consequences for others. Inconsistency is a weakness that arises from the lack of a clear goal and stability of character. Ralph Waldo Emerson. A psychopath's inconsistency is yet another important sign that is part of their irresponsibility. They often change their views, behavior, and attitude toward others, depending on what is convenient for them at the moment. A lack of a clear goal or moral compass makes them wander aimlessly from one thing to another, not realizing that every new turn harms their relationships and plans. They simply cannot stay on track and follow a chosen course. Sign 3. Superficial charm. Psychopaths have the ability to create a charming impression, which often deceives people, giving them the feeling that they are in front of an ideal personality. They possess superficial charm, which allows them to gain trust in just minutes. Their sociability, ease in starting conversations, and mannerisms can seem innocent and even appealing. This enables them to skillfully manipulate others, creating the illusion that they are reliable partners, friends, or even loyal lovers. But this charm has no moral foundation. It is simply a mask under which their true intentions lie. Superficial charm is just a tool to achieve a goal, nothing more. It has nothing to do with real kindness or honesty. Robert Hay. As Robert Hay points out, psychopaths use their charm to achieve a specific goal. They don't try to genuinely care or help. Their goal is always self-interest. They pretend to be kind, loving, and compassionate until they get what they want. Psychopaths can give you the feeling that they are sincere and open, but in reality, they are only using this as a manipulation tool to achieve their goals. This charm often becomes the first stage of manipulation. Thanks to it, psychopaths easily enter your life, gain your trust, and even get what they want, all without showing their true nature. They may be impressive in their ability to attract attention, but this trait serves only as a cover for their manipulative and selfish actions. Charm that has no moral foundation is merely a cunning tool to manipulate others, not an expression of true goodwill or love. John Lennon. This quote by John Lennon emphasizes that a psychopath's charm is merely a tool that has no real moral foundation. They can be incredibly charming, but their appeal has nothing to do with genuine feelings or goodness. Their ability to win trust and sympathy is just part of their manipulation arsenal. and they are not trying to build reliable relationships or create an emotional connection. It's simply a way to get what they want, rather than a chance for real emotional interaction. Sign 4. Lack of empathy. Psychopaths do not care about others' emotions. They are incapable of putting themselves in someone else's shoes, and they feel no need to help those who are suffering. For them, other people are nothing more than tools to achieve their goals. This doesn't mean they don't understand other people's emotions. They can clearly recognize when someone is suffering, but their reaction is either indifference or manipulation to take advantage of the situation. The lack of empathy is not only a moral flaw, it is the ability to ignore others' pain in order to use them for personal gain. George Bernard Shaw. This quote perfectly captures the essence of psychopaths. Not only do they fail to feel compassion for others, but they actively use other people's suffering for their own gain. There is no concern for what others feel. Their world revolves around their own interests and needs. And this is not just a lack of concern. It's their way of surviving and manipulating. They don't see anything wrong with using or deceiving those who trust them because they have no internal need for mutual respect or support. For a psychopath, empathy is a weakness that can be exploited. They may watch someone's pain or tragedy unfold and feel no moral obligation to help. This can be incredibly dangerous, as their indifference can lead to terrible consequences for those who are in their circle. When we are unable to feel another's pain, we lose the ability to form deep connections with others. We become incapable of true love or friendship. Arthur Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer beautifully expresses that the ability to empathize is the foundation of genuine relationships. Without this connection, a person becomes isolated, and no social or personal relationship can be true or healthy. Psychopaths, in turn, remain in their isolated reality, where others' pain doesn't matter, and their relationships with others are simply tools to achieve their goals. This lack of empathy is not just their moral flaw, but the foundation of all their manipulations. They don't understand why they should care about other people because they don't see any point in it. They are capable of acting ruthlessly, not stopping at moral barriers, because they feel no remorse for what they do. For this reason, they can cause significant harm without feeling any regret, and not even understand why others react to their actions with outrage or pain. We've looked at 4 key signs of a psychopath: lack of remorse, irresponsibility and inconsistency, superficial charm, and lack of empathy. Knowing these signs is the first step in protecting yourself from manipulation and betrayal. However, it's important to remember that psychopaths are often incredibly skilled manipulators, and their actions can be so subtle that they may not be immediately identifiable. Therefore, stay vigilant and trust your instincts and common sense. What manipulations of a psychopath have you encountered? Share your experiences in the comments. Perhaps your stories will help others recognize signs of manipulation in their lives. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive more helpful advice and avoid falling under the influence of toxic people. Remember, knowledge is power, and those who possess knowledge are capable of protecting themselves from any danger. Francis Bacon. Stay vigilant and thoughtful.